So in theory, hey folks, bear with me for a minute. Let's see, I've already got. Bear with me for. Hey, Rune. Yes, I am. I be with you in just a sec. Just gonna post a link on Twitter here real quick. And in the meantime, take a look at Nick Farr in that hat. Okay. Ooh, that video quality is pretty lousy there. Hopefully it's better for you folks. Hey Rob, hey Rune. Nice to see you both. We'll start off with the big thing today, which is I have moved. So I have a new, oh good, okay, it's just coming through fuzzy on my laptop then, great. So this is my new workbench. And for once, I actually have enough room behind the workbench that I can actually step back a few feet and actually get it in frame. So you folks can see it. So with that, let's do a quick tour here. Down below, this thing here is a little organizer drawer. It's mostly key blanks and some repair parts. Binder for my HPC Blitz there with all the cards. A couple boxes of locks and some spare parts. And then a toolbox with a whole bunch of, tools. Now we've got, start over here, the Lab Spring Kit. For North American locksmiths, a surprisingly useful thing. Lots of different, like, you would really be surprised how many different and essentially unique types of springs there are. We've got Schlage F-Series. These are Ace tubular lock springs. Quickset uses stainless steel. Master and Yale use these weird little reduced diameter springs. Corbin Russwin has these anti-tangle stainless steel springs that still get tangled up. Corbin's interchangeable core springs. But it also comes with a bunch of other useful bits. Spool pins for Quickset, T-pins for Schlage, interchangeable core caps, generic replacement chamber covers, cylinder shims, and then these I've got some ASA twin chamber springs. I've got Sargent and Medico chamber covers, SFIC ejector block and tools. And it also has a convenient little drawer here, which is what on a lot of my videos you used to see me reaching into, fishing around for followers and tweezers and whatnot. And then behind that at the moment, it's just sort of random stuff, beverage, Houdini, some PTFE lube, WD-40, and my vise. Eventually, when I unpack and collect more things from my old place, I'm going to have my nice magnifier, work lamp, and everything. And the main area here, we've got, of course, work mat and the big universal pin kit, which I'm going to move my laptop. So that's a little distracting there. Universal kit. I can stick my laptop. Screwdriver, otoscope. This thing, I buy these from Peterson. I think they cost like $10 or $15, and they are surprisingly useful. They're, oh, yeah, sorry, guys. So this thing is basically just a little cheap flashlight with this reflector setup on it. But with this little cone on it, it redirects the light into this little tiny dot you see there. And it also acts as a magnifier. So sometimes, like if I personally can't afford a borescope, and so if I'm working on a lock and something seems to be jammed up in there, or I can't figure out how to release the cylinder or something, I will use that too. That's right, Rune. It actually is the exact same. Well, it's a significantly cheaper version of the tool that a doctor will use to look inside your ear. Little bench hammer. I've got spare heads for it in here. Useful little bench tools when you're trying to repair things. Moving along over here. Stamps, lots and lots of stamps. So 3.2 mil or 1/8 inch, 3/64 inch, 5/32 inch, and then I've got my legally required name and license number stamp so that I mark keys that I can make. That's a local legal requirement. Do not duplicate and master. Those are also, I know they're silly and I don't like using them, but they this one specifically is actually a local legal requirement that I think is particularly silly. Hey, Mad Hatter. Thanks for joining. Yeah, plug spinner. I've got the Peterson plug spinner as well. I like them both. This one I just usually keep in. Hey, Jason. Thanks for joining. Welcome to my new workshop. The do not duplicate. I can, well, obviously I can stamp it on any key that I like. It is mostly something that I will offer for small offices and commercial clients that I have, where it will be like, yeah, this key isn't actually restricted and there's no legal force to this, but it gives them a bit of peace of mind and it makes it just a little less likely that someone will either copy the key without question or that someone will even attempt to. Oh, the one with my license, that is required for any key that I make. That is, New York City requires every key that a licensed locksmith make be marked with their name and either their address or license number. So because I work out of just a private workshop and not a storefront, I put my license number on there. Then we've got calipers and fancy mechanical caliper. Not really fancy, but it's an old Foley bell saw thing. And then some cheap little Harbor Freight Chinese thing. Yeah, that, whatever, that's standard screwdriver bits. This is probably the second most expensive thing on my workbench. which is kind of ridiculous. This right here, I think I'm on a couple of things, and I was talking to Jeff Moss and Tyler Thomas, who, hey Tyler, thanks for joining. We were talking about this earlier today. This is let me just see real quick. I don't know if it's messing up the video on your end, but for me, it's really distracting to have Slack keep. Okay, so hopefully that's a little better. Right. So we'll talk about this in a couple of minutes, but this thing is absurdly expensive for what is basically just like combined. This weighs probably a pound or so, maybe a bit more. And it's just a block of cast and slightly milled hardened. Hey guys, give me a second to sort this out. Don't need to see that. Okay. Whew. Don't know what happened there. It might be that just my network connection, my Wi-Fi connection is kind of laying down here. So anyway, pretty hefty thing. Probably weighs a pound or so. I don't have a scale down here, but it is set up so that you can fit standard mortise cylinders, key and knob cylinders, or Sargent interchangeable core cylinders. And this thing, I think, hey guys, back again. Not entirely sure what was happening there, but okay. So pretty hefty setup for mortise cylinders, key and knob, and Sargent style interchangeable core. And then really the most important thing though is this staking block. And the way that is supposed to work, bear with me a second. Gotta go into that big box of assorted locks. That just slides in right there and then locks in place just like it would into a normal interchangeable core housing. Or here's a Sargent mortise cylinder, very shiny brass, so shiny. And that slides in here and just tighten that set screw. I don't have any Sargent key and knob cores at the moment, but that would just slide right in there. Let's move that aside for the moment. And the idea is that you can take a screwdriver or something and pry this cover off. Then you take the spare covers that I was showing you in that spring kit on the other side of the bench. Put one down on there. Just sort of hold it down with this, and you smack this with a hammer a couple of times, and it will flatten them out and lock that in place and cover up the chambers. And then you have your cylinder all sealed up and ready to go. You gotta be careful with that sometimes. Like if you don't hit it enough that this doesn't actually flatten out entirely, this will sometimes slide out if it's not fully staked in place. But very handy tool. And these days, it used to be that like every lock manufacturer had one and that would sell them to you, no problem. These days, they're surprisingly hard to find, and they're mostly only for interchangeable core cylinders, which just is annoying because there's a lot of older mortise cylinders that need it. And also, if you get something where there's pins or something that are jammed up in the cylinder, and so you can't shim the plug or anything like that. I know, Jason, but you've got all sorts of cool old tools. It's really helpful. Or if you're trying to practice impressioning, if you ever get into one of those situations where you get that really steep vertical cut that traps the key in there, easiest thing to do, peel that top cover off, dump the pins out, and then you just remove the key and toss it. And or sometimes you can fix it, but usually at that point it's, hey, Bill. Yeah, Tyler and Jason both have all the cool stuff. Thanks for joining, Bill. Thanks, Rob. Yeah, so, but then once you do that, you've got this little rolled up bit of copper or brass, and you have to, and taking a big screwdriver like this and trying to get it flat back out is just a huge pain. Much easier and faster with that. Also has holes drilled through the bottom here so that in theory you can stick it to a bench and put a couple of screws through it, hold it in place. I don't because, well, actually, this workbench, which I built yesterday, is the first time I've actually had a proper workbench that I could actually screw things into if I wanted. Yeah. So, kind of only is this pile of antique rim latches or rim locks. And this one has some pretty cool things that I will take you through. And yeah, you know what? Let's do that. Jason has shown you all how to use a blitz, and you don't want to see me just make a spare Schlage key. That's boring. But this guy, this is kind of cool. So the special thing about this, it has the usual. It was working before. Oh. Yeah, so that's actually the special feature here, that it has a catch on the top of the case that will turn this into a dead latch. So I flip that, and now it's deadlocked, and then I take it off, and it's back to being a spring latch. And that's kind of a cool thing, and you don't see that very often. The other three locks, which are all basically the same thing, the same model, though I haven't opened them up yet, don't have that catch. So take that screw out. And here we have all the bits and pieces. So single lever lock there for the deadbolt. And slightly complex hub and latch arrangement here. And then this latch is just its own thing, and it's got its own little spring. Hopefully you can see that just up there. That just gets it to sort of snap into the two possible positions. And I just spent the day trying to clean this thing, and it is really filthy. So I'm going to close that back up for the moment. It might be my connection. Know if this is coming through okay. Yeah, sorry to see you go, Pickbeard, but yeah, if your connection's not so great, this will be up later. Let's see. Yeah, sorry about that. Hey guys, so let's see, what time is it now? Well, I want to thank everyone who stuck with me for. Well, I want to thank everyone who stuck with me for this nearly half an hour of annoyance and noise from my neighbor's air ducts. I do need better Wi-Fi in my underground cave. Yes, thank you, Rune. Um, so I have kind of run out of interesting things here that aren't going to make a mess or be even harder on you. And I will see if there's anything I can do to fix this up, get some better networking down here, and we'll try this again next weekend. Thank you all for showing up, and thank you for sticking with me in all these technical